Hi everybody, welcome to Kenny's Presentation Workshop 3. Today's theme is the structure of making great stories. How to make a great story. That's the topic, okay? And today's content is based upon my demonstration which I did in my workshop number 2. So if you haven't seen my demonstration speech in the workshop number 2, please go back and watch those, okay? I put the URL of the workshop number 2, right? If you have seen it, okay, let's go ahead. All right, in the first workshop, I told you there is a very strong common thread between a good cooking and good presentations. And I gave you the example of this very typical Japanese cooking. It's called the nikujaga. All right, so think about how to make this great cooking. 3 steps, okay? Step number one is you need to get the fresh ingredients, okay? In this case, you have to get the onions and potatoes and carrot and the fresh meat and some seasoning, right? This is the first step. In terms of the presentation, when you prepare the presentation, this is the first step. You need to get the ingredients that can be valuable information, valuable experience, and valuable knowledge, something you really want to share with other people, okay? So second skills you need to make a great cooking is cutting skills, okay? In other words, you need to be able to cut those ingredients into the right size so that your guests and family members can eat it very easily, okay? In terms of the presentation, you need to be able to break the whole contents into the logical parts, in the logical sequence. Because great presentations, great stories always have good structures. For example, good presentation has attention getting grabbing, and then conclusion or purpose of the presentation, and then 2 or 3 key reasons to support that conclusion, and coming back to the conclusion again, an action plan. Okay, so this is the second part, how to structure your presentation. And the last element is you should be able to give a good taste to your cooking, because this tasting part is giving taste part is very, very important. No matter how great your ingredients, fresh, nutritious ingredients are, if you make a big mistake in this tasting part, it's going to be a disaster. For example, if that Japanese mom's cooking, if the taste is too salty or too sweet, right? It's gonna ruin the whole process. In terms of the presentation, this is very important. This is how you speak. What I'm doing right now is I'm looking into your eyes and using my hand, and I input my enthusiasm into my voice. Okay, so this is how you speak, because this is so important. For example, if I tell you this message to you, good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to be here today. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to be here today. Exactly the same content, same ingredients, but the impact was completely different, okay? So those 3 things can be applied to storytelling too. And today I'm gonna talk about especially how to structure the good stories. All right, so I told you in my first workshop and second workshop, please come back with the good ingredients, all right, something you really want to share. And I asked you to pick one of the very challenging, tough experience which happened in your life. Okay, the reason why I asked you to choose that tough, challenging experiences, by nature of those stories, you must have learned something very valuable. And by nature of that story, you can give impact to the audience. And how I'm going to tell you why it happens, okay? So let me explain each part of good story. In terms of the contents, I want you to include 3 elements. Number 1, visual image. Okay. Number 2, audio factors. Number 3 is the heart factors. What do I mean by that? Okay. I factor is please try to include some visual image. Do you remember in my first demonstration, I told you when I had the operation, my heart operation, I could see the whole process on the screen, okay, because I didn't lose consciousness. I could see my own heart was throbbing on the screen. I could see doctor's needle was coming into my heart. to open the clogged pot, right? So that's a pretty clear visual image. I hope you remember, right? Number 2 is the audio factors. Try to include some conversation you had. In my first demonstration, I told you when doctor diagnosed me, he said, "Oh no, you're having a heart attack. You need operation right away." In my second demonstration, my manager said, "Kenny, this is very difficult to tell you, but you are fired." Okay, those are messages I included in my storytelling. And last factor is how I felt. When I had a heart attack, when I was suffering from intense pain, I thought I was going to die. I was so scared. In my second demonstration, when my boss told me, my dream, my big success, Big Apple was completely shattered into pieces, and I was desperate, right? I was desperate. I didn't know what to do. So that's a psychological element or heart element. Okay, so those 3 elements, when you tell stories, try to include it. If you do that, your story is going to be very vivid, and your story is going to be literally like a 3Ds, 3-dimensional stories. Okay, so this is something I did, telling my stories. This is something I want you to do it when you tell stories. Okay, let me move on to the structure part. This is very important. Okay. This is a format I followed when I told my stories. I started with the symbol or keyword. Remember the first demonstration, I started with that is the broken heart, right? The second demonstration, I started with the Big Apple. And then I went into the content of the story, including those 3 elements. That is a visual image, audio factors, and how I felt. Okay? And towards the end of the stories, I concluded those stories with one or few sentence summary telling what I learned from it. So what I learned. In my first story, what I told you is what I learned is life is very fragile. We never know when our life can be taken away all of a sudden. So life is today. Life is this moment. That's what I learned, right? Remember the second demonstration, I said, what I learned from my experience is, being fired is going to be a great experience. That's what I learned. And after that, becoming a unique apple. You becoming someone completely different, completely unique compared with other people is going to be a great experience. That's what I told you, okay? So if you follow those structures, you can make your story very impactful. If I put it into the visual image, that structure looks like this. You start with a symbol, story, so forth. Okay, this is an overall image, right? But if you pay close attention to that structure of the speech, it's actually shaped like a V shape. Okay, what do I mean by that? In the first part of the presentation, you talk about your downhill, right? You made a huge mistake. You went into the big tragedy, and you went to the hell, right? You went to the bottom, but somehow you came back learning something. You overcame that tough experience. Okay, this is called a V-shaped structure, and please remember this, and please try to use this format when you tell a story, because this can give you a very strong impact to the audience. Why? Because when you first talk about your downhill experience, what does it make to the audience? Audience may feel, hey, what's going to happen next, right? They get very excited, and when you reach the bottom of that experience, what happens? They feel empathy to you because they may have had a similar experience in the past, right? But if you end your story at that point, it doesn't create too much value because it doesn't really tell the audience what you learned, valuable lesson you learned from that experience. So you talk about, second half of the story, how you overcame that experience, right? And as a result, what you got as a great valuable learning lesson. So this is the structure of the story. Okay, first downhill and then uphill. And as a result, what you learned. If you talk about it, it's going to add so much value to your story because people or audience can understand your learning and they can probably apply that learning into their own lives. Okay, so it can give, the value in terms of the heart. It can give the value to their head in terms of the lessons they learn. Okay, they can use. So those are second part. That is structuring. Okay, number 3, how to add a taste. Right, giving taste is very important. This is how you speak. I have already demonstrated. The key factors are you should be able to look into the eye contact, and the gestures, and also voice projections. Basically, those 3 areas. I've been talking very enthusiastically because I really believe in my message to you. Okay, this is the third part, adding taste. So let me just summarize 3 factors. How to make your story great. Number 1, choose a valuable stories ingredients. And number 2, please cut your story into 3 parts: symbol, story, so what, or V-shape stories. Number 3 is how to add a taste. Speak with a passion, speak with enthusiasm. Okay, if you do so, your hands naturally follows. Those are 3 things. All right. So I have assignment again. I hope you prepared your story, but this time remake your story following that structure, okay? And see the difference. I'm sure your story will improve a lot. And remember that the V-shaped story you can apply to any storytelling, like a story at the wedding ceremonies, story you have to make as a leader, right? Leaders should make a story about their mistakes, not only success. Why? Because if you do that, your subordinate will feel closer to you. They feel empathizing to you, and also they will respect you because they believe, hey, my leader, he's also or she's also human, and I respect how she or he overcame that big challenges. Right? Okay, so try to use that V shape. In the next workshop, workshop 3, I'm going to show you something very valuable. I'm going to show this guy who's a genius of making a presentation storytelling. And he's going to demonstrate us his storytelling at the Stanford University. And the reason why I'm going to show his speech is he's using exactly the same format I have just experienced. He tells 3 stories, but all those 3 stories are shaped into the diamond structure, okay? And the 3 stories, and then he tells the last story, and he tells last biggest so what? Stay hungry and stay foolish, right? I'm going to explain each step, how he's doing it. And if you pay close attention to the structure of the story, actually the first story is V-shape, and the third story is V-shape, and the second story is actually N-shape, okay? That's the secret why his storytelling is so impactful. Still now, tens of thousands of people are accessing to his Stanford University speech as a great example, okay? The secret is this. You get to know. Okay, thank you everybody. This is all for workshop 3, and I could finish within 14 minutes today. And next workshop is going to be even more exciting and interesting. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next workshop. Thank you for listening to the end. See you then. Bye.